Good morning. While I was in middle school, one random day my father asked me, "Do you want to go to the United States of America for high school?" That didn't take me too long to think about because I've been hearing that in American schools there are only a very small amount of homework every day and the math is very easy. I didn't realize how that decision just changed my whole life until my parents sent me to Beijing to study for English. It was a very tough time for me, not because of the pressure of taking TOEFL and moving to a new city without all my friends, but because there was no Wi-Fi in the house where I was staying. It is not a lie that living in a new city with my godparents was a big challenge. No friends, no parents, no family food, and no Wi-Fi. But fortunately, I was very excited about the new life. If you ask me to stay in a strange city for 7 months now, that would definitely take me a few days to digest. But at that time, I was probably chosen to be an optimistic guy that made crazy choices. The first difficulty came when I went to my new English school in Beijing. I was expecting to meet a bunch of nice new guys in my new school, but unfortunately, there were only 2 people in the class that I was taking, my teacher and I. Even though I was so optimistic, that situation destroyed all my imaginations about my new friends and my future potential dates. After a week of taking 4 hours of class and self-study for another 6 hours every day, even though the amount of study I have to do every day was a lot, I found out that life was probably not harder than I thought. The teacher there was not like 40-year-old traditional teachers. They were all graduate students from really good colleges. My oldest teacher was about 27 years old. Soon, I made friends with all my teachers that I talked to. I don't know if that's true or not, but they all said that they loved talking to me because my smile was sweet. And they liked how optimistic I was all the time. After that, life turned out very well. My teacher would always go out with me for lunch and ice cream. That was one of the best times in my life so far. Time flies very fast. After a series of offers coming in, I finally chose Lumiere as a place where I want to go for my first American school. I still remember that when my parents drove me to the airport, I was so excited to go on the plane and didn't realize how sad my mom was about my leaving. When I was waiting for the plane, I got a phone call from my mom. I thought I left something in the car, but she only asked me what I was doing. I first confused for a second about this weird question and answered her that I was in Starbucks and texting with my friends. She clearly wasn't happy about the answer, but that just confused me more. Not long after, I heard from my father that after I left, my mom was looking at the place where I left and crying for 30 minutes. He just told me that when my mom figured out I didn't feel any sad about leaving them, she felt angry about herself that she was worrying too much for me. She then stopped crying and headed to the car and never looked back. I still remember that the first impression Lalu gave to me was well united. Instead of describing Lalu as a school, I would describe this place as a great community. From four together to embrace Lalu, protecting our community seemed to be everyone's job. I had met so many good friends in the school, and I was blessed to be encouraged to become a part of our tennis team. The first day of tennis practice was also my first time holding a tennis racket. Even Coach Connie had mentioned a few months ago that he never thought I could do anything for our team when I first came in. After hitting at the last court with the worst players for about a week, I was getting frustrated about this sport. I wanted to give up, but a match changed everything. It was a practice match with Mike. It was probably the worst match I have ever played since the opponent is the #1 single on our team. I made a choice after the match that one day I would beat him. There are only 2 ways to win. Either make sure that your opponent sucks or make yourself better. So I started pushing myself to become better. From regular practice every day to after practice hitting with better players, I got a lot more enthusiastically into this sport. In order to be the best players on our team, listening to coaches didn't satisfy me. I started watching professional players play and tried to learn from their play. YouTube tennis channel became the place where I went every day. By learning from the slow motion of how professional players play and practice swinging my racket like them, my team position went up very quickly. From the last position on GV to the last position on varsity, and finally to the first doubles of all time this year, I have changed. Now, even though I haven't beat Mike yet, I will play a serious match with him before my graduation. Here, I, Simon Zhang, want to challenge Mike Xu in tennis. If you accept it, maybe sometime today so we can talk about it. Now through back to the match I played with Mike. That choice after the match gave me a new meaning to my life. I am now addicted into this sport, and I'm sure that tennis is going to be with me for my entire life. If you ask me whether I would choose either the girl that I like or hitting tennis balls every day, I probably will have to give up the girl. Actually, life is full of choices. Even a teeny tiny little choice can change your whole life. My decision about 4 years ago brought me into this great community with great friends doing my favorite things. As this last chapel of this year, I hope everyone can find their best choices. Hope everyone and all my G-Laos have a wonderful rest of the year. Thank you.